The journey begins in a small neighborhood in the Philippines, where music wasn't just a hobby for this child, it was a lifeline. While other kids played outside and spent afternoons running through the streets, this young singer spent hours locked into the sound of his own voice bouncing off the walls of their home. Opera music wasn't common in his community. People heard love songs, karaoke classics, pop hits, ballads, and folk songs, but opera was something that belonged on big stages in faraway places. Yet somehow, this young child connected to the power of opera in a way that even adults struggle to understand. His parents would often watch him stand in front of a small mirror, hands placed carefully on his chest, breathing deeply, trying to hit those notes he heard online. And even though his voice was still developing, the emotion in his singing had already begun to bloom. At school talent shows, he was always the quiet kid until he stepped on stage. And every time he opened his mouth to sing, the audience would freeze. Teachers whispered to each other that they had never heard a child sing like that. Some wondered how a 10-year-old could even understand opera enough to deliver it with so much passion. But the truth is, he didn't need to understand every technical detail. All he needed was the emotion, the heart, and the courage to sing like no one else around him. His dream wasn't fame, it wasn't money, it was simply to stand on a big stage and sing his heart out. And when AGT held global auditions, that dream suddenly turned into something possible. Imagine the moment the email arrived confirming his audition. His entire family went silent at first because they couldn't believe it. Then suddenly the house exploded with excitement, tears, and disbelief. A 10-year-old Filipino kid who had never been on a stage bigger than his school auditorium was now heading to the biggest talent competition in the world, standing in front of millions of viewers, and facing the toughest panel of judges anyone could ask for. As his audition day approached, nerves kicked in. He practiced at the hotel. He practiced backstage. He even practiced while waiting in line with hundreds of other hopefuls. But even with all that practice, nothing could have prepared him for the moment when he finally stepped out from behind the curtains and onto the AGT stage. The lights were blinding. The audience stretched across the massive auditorium in every direction. Cameras zoomed in on his face. The judges watched silently. Simon Cowell stared with that familiar unreadable expression that makes even adults tremble. And yet, standing there with his small frame and his huge dream, the young singer smiled politely and introduced himself with the softest, most innocent voice. Nobody in the audience expected much. The judges exchanged quick glances. How could a 10-year-old sing opera? How could a child deliver something that normally takes decades of training and emotional maturity? But as the music began, a hush fell over the entire theater. The first note that came out of his mouth wasn't just clear, it was powerful, resonant, and delivered with a control that didn't seem human for someone so young. The audience gasped. Some stood up almost immediately. Simon raised his eyebrows, his expression shifting from skepticism to shock. But that was only the beginning. With every second that passed, the notes grew stronger, the emotion deepened, and the performance built like a wave crashing into the hearts of everyone listening. People in the audience covered their mouths, unable to believe what they were hearing. The judges leaned forward, mesmerized. The rich vibrato, the vocal precision, the maturity in his tone, everything about it screamed Prodigy. And yet, he sang with the emotion of someone who had lived an entire lifetime. By the time he reached the climax of the song, the theater was shaking with applause. The crowd was on fire, cheering at the top of their lungs. But through the noise, one thing happened quietly. Simon Cowell stood up. Yes, Simon Cowell, the judge known for harsh criticism, the judge who rarely shows emotion, stood up with a look of pure awe on his face. He stared at the young performer like he had just witnessed something the world only sees once in a generation. When the final note ended, the applause was deafening. People were crying. Even backstage, contestants could hear the roar echoing through the halls. The boy stood still, catching his breath, unsure if the reaction was real or if he was dreaming. Then the judges began to speak. Heidi said she had chills from the first note. Howie said he had never seen a child command a stage like that. Sophia called him a miracle. But everyone was waiting for one voice. One opinion, one decision that could change everything. Simon leaned forward, smiling softly, and said something the boy would remember forever. He said that in all his years of judging, very few performances hit him straight in the heart the way this child's did. He said the boy didn't just sing opera, he lived it, breathed it, and transformed it into something magical. Then he said the words that sent shockwaves through the room, "I think we are looking at the future." Before the boy could even process those words, Simon stood up, walked to the center of the panel, and reached out his hand toward the golden buzzer. The audience screamed. The judges looked stunned. The boy's family backstage burst into tears, covering their faces as the moment they never imagined was suddenly becoming reality. And then, with one powerful slam, Simon brought his hand down on the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded from above, raining down over the young singer as he stood frozen in shock. The music swelled, the crowd erupted, and the theater transformed into a celebration of pure, raw talent. The boy dropped to his knees, overwhelmed by emotion. His dream, the dream he carried from a small home in the Philippines to the biggest stage in the world, had finally come true. The golden buzzer wasn't just a button. For him, it was the beginning of a new life, a doorway to a future brighter than he ever believed possible. Backstage, his mother held him tightly as they cried together. She whispered that she knew he could do it, that she always believed in his gift, and that the whole world now knew his name. His father, trying to remain strong, wiped away tears he didn't want the cameras to see. The hosts congratulated him, hugging him and cheering for him like he was already a superstar. And in a way, he was. News of his performance spread at lightning speed. Social media exploded. Clips of his audition were shared millions of times. People around the world wrote comments saying they watched it with goosebumps, with tears, with disbelief. Filipinos everywhere celebrated him like a national hero, proud to see another young talent representing their country on such a massive platform. Vocal coaches reacted to his performance, shocked by his natural ability. Opera singers praised his technique, calling him a rare gift. Even celebrities posted about him, saying they had watched his audition more than once because they couldn't get over how powerful his voice was. As the days went by, interviews rolled in. Journalists wanted to know how he trained, what inspired him, and how he stayed calm on stage. But the truth was simple. He stayed calm because he wasn't performing for fame. He was performing because he loved music. He had the heart of someone who sings not for the applause, but for the art itself. When the next round of the competition arrived, people wondered whether he could top his golden buzzer performance. But instead of feeling pressured, he focused on improving. He listened to every note, every breath, every emotion. He practiced harder than ever. And when he finally returned to the stage, it was clear he wasn't there just to compete. He was there to grow. Every step of the journey taught him something new. He learned how to handle nerves, how to connect with an audience, how to push his voice further without losing control. The AGT coaches were amazed by his discipline. The judges praised his progress. And the audience watched him transform from a talented kid into a young artist with a powerful presence. But the most beautiful part of his journey wasn't the applause or the praise. It was the way he inspired other children. Kids from the Philippines, from Asia, from all over the world began posting videos saying they wanted to pursue opera, singing, or performing because he made them believe they could. Parents wrote emotional messages saying their children were now practicing opera at home after watching him. Choir teachers used his performance to motivate their students. In a world where talent shows are filled with pop singers, dancers, and comedians, he reminded everyone that opera still has the power to touch the soul, no matter how young the performer may be. As he continued through AGT, the bond between him and Simon grew deeper. Simon believed in him like a mentor. He guided him with gentle advice, helping him deliver performances that were not only technically brilliant but emotionally moving. Simon often said that some performers sing to impress, but this boy sang to express, and that made all the difference. One of the most touching moments happened backstage during the semi-finals. The boy, still overwhelmed by the magnitude of the journey, confessed that he used to doubt himself. He wondered if anyone would ever listen to him. But now, standing on one of the biggest stages in the world, he finally understood that his dream wasn't impossible. It was real, and the world was listening. His semi-final performance was another masterpiece. He delivered a piece that required extraordinary control and vocal maturity. As he sang, the audience held its breath. Even the camera operators were stunned, capturing close-ups of judges wiping tears from their eyes. When he finished, he received one of the longest standing ovations of the season. Simon, emotional once again, told him that he had the kind of gift that could change the world of music. He said opera needed young voices like his to carry it into the future. Those words echoed throughout social media as people praised Simon for recognizing and uplifting such a young, extraordinary talent. When it came time for the finals, the pressure was enormous. But the boy didn't crumble. He smiled, took a deep breath, and gave a performance that was nothing short of magical. His voice soared across the theater, reaching every seat, every heart, every viewer watching at home. And when he finished, people everywhere knew they had just witnessed a child who wasn't just singing songs. He was creating moments in history. Regardless of where he placed in the competition, his legacy was already cemented. He had done something that many adults dream of but never achieve. He had moved the world with nothing but his voice, his heart, and his courage. He had shown millions that greatness doesn't depend on age, background, or wealth. It depends on passion and the willingness to chase a dream even when it feels impossible. Today, his story continues to inspire. His voice continues to grow. His passion continues to intensify. And the opportunities that followed AGT transformed his life forever. He now performs on stages much bigger than the one he started on. He collaborates with musicians across the world. And most importantly, he remains humble, grateful, and driven by the same love for music he had as a child singing alone in his home. This is what makes his story so powerful. Not the golden buzzer, not the fame, but the journey of a child who dared to dream big and worked tirelessly to make that dream come true. His story teaches us that no dream is too big and no dreamer is too small. It teaches us that talent can come from anywhere, and that sometimes, the most extraordinary gifts are found in the most unexpected places. As we come to the end of this video, remember this: when you believe in your dreams, when you put your heart into your passion, and when you refuse to give up no matter how difficult the journey becomes, something amazing can happen. Just like it happened for this young Filipino opera singer. Just like it can happen for you. Thank you for watching this emotional journey with us. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because more incredible stories and life-changing moments are coming your way. Until next time, keep believing, keep dreaming, and keep shining.